Rev up your engines! Alright, people always said Toyota Camrys, they're boring, right? Well, Toyota decided to do something about it. So they came out with the Toyota Camry TRD. Now, Toyota only makes 6,000 of these a year. They wanted to basically say, hey, Camrys are not boring. This has the V6 Camry 301 horsepower engine, and actually, the TRD is the cheapest way to get that engine. If you're gonna buy it in a luxury Camry, you're gonna pay many thousands more to get that same engine. So, in this case, you get the Toyota Race Development Camry, but it's cheaper than the other one. Kind of interesting. My wife loves Camrys. She didn't like this because it's got a stiffer suspension. It's really set up to be much stiffer, so it really corners well. But the family man doesn't like it because you can't fold the back seats down, because they stiffened up the whole body too. And there's a brace in there, so you can't take the seat down to get it in the trunk. And people with families, they don't like that. But, you know, I don't think he's gonna start a family for a while, so you never know what's gonna happen. But it's got plenty of room in the seats. It's just you can't fold the seats back. And for the family or luxury oriented, this is what the TRD doesn't have. It's a pretty big list. No moonroof, no wireless charging, no dynamic grid lines on backup camera, no heated seats, no heated steering wheel, no backseat console air vents, no folding backseat, no backseat armrests with cup holders, no ventilated seats, no head-up display, no 360-degree camera, no auto-dimming rearview mirror. The standard 9-inch touchscreen is not in these. Only single-zone climate, not dual. And last but not least, imitation leather with fabric inserts versus leather trim. So this has imitation leather instead of real leather. But here's what you get. They souped up the front suspension. They souped up the back suspension. Sway bar is 44% stiffer, and the back one is 67% stiffer. Corner like a dream and you don't get body roll. Plus, these wheels are lighter and wider, there's less momentum, and of course you want to stop too, so these things have better brakes. The disc brakes are bigger and better made. There's 2 calipers that squeeze in. The factory ones only have 1. These have 2 on each side. On this side and on this side. So they have 4, where the regular Camrys only have 2, so you got more stoppability, more control. They're regular discs. Now, they're ventilated inside, this side, that side, and there's a vent in the middle. But you notice they're not drilled or slotted. And that's because Toyota doesn't want their customers to get mad at them. People think, oh, I'm gonna drill and slot my rotors for racing, blah, 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 blah. They make a lot of noise. They warp and wear out faster too. Most people don't like it. It's fine if you're racing a car. You slam on the gas, you slam on the brake, you slam on the gas, you're going around a racetrack. They overheat, they'll actually glow red, right? Most people don't drive like that on the street. When you stop with these, the first time you stop, they'll actually stop somewhat faster because it's all metal. They've got more surface area to dissipate the heat. Now, they would eventually fade if you kept slamming on the brakes, slamming on the gas, slamming on the brakes. That's why the race cars have drilled and slotted ones to dissipate the heat faster. These, for one time only, will stop faster because they got a bigger surface area they're squeezing, and they can stop the car quicker. It's a racing thing. You don't need drilled and slotted stuff. You know, people see them. You see them on motorcycles. A lot of the stuff is just for show. It's also lowered. It's a lower car. You can tell. It's a lot lower than a stock Camry. The lower a car is, the better it's going to corner. But unfortunately, the rougher it's going to ride. I've driven actual race cars, and let me tell you, the fillings fell out of my teeth. Those things are just suspension-less, practically. They want to get as low as they can to the ground so they can corner as fast as they can possibly corner. They don't care about the ride. People might laugh and say, oh, those drivers, they're not real athletes. They're just driving cars around. You try driving one of their cars around and you'll change your opinion. I drove a NASCAR car around once, and when you're hanging on doing those curves and it's trying to throw you to the other side of the car, those guys are really strong. Don't think they aren't. They're not just sitting there driving a car like a truck driver. They gotta be really strong to handle those things. Now, of course, it is a Camry. So they're extremely dependable. It's got everything, air conditioning, electric power steering, everything you want in a normal car. And we'll pop off this stupid beauty cover. You know what I think of those things. Blah. Here, why don't you just leave it like this? It's more interesting. You get to see everything. And of course, it's a modern engine. Got a timing chain. You don't have to mess with the belt. What I like about it is it's naturally aspirated. None of this turbo, high pressure crap. this engine can last a long time with 301 horsepower. Hey, it's got a lot of oomph for a car this size. And notice, it's got a souped up exhaust, dual exhaust, makes a decent sound. Not so fast car, just driving around town, he gets about 20 miles a gallon. You get a lot closer to 30 if you go on the highway all the time. Now when we look inside, you can see why young guys like it. It's all blacked out, a little black and red stripes, but of course it's a Toyota. It's always going to start. This one has a little zoom to it. It's got all the modern amenities. And yes, for you serious drivers, you can turn the traction control off. Then it warns you. And yes, it is a regular Camry inside. Look at all the leg room. Toyota just decided. They were sick of people saying, oh, Camrys, they run forever, but they're so boring, I'd never buy one. Let's take it for a ride, see how boring this car is. Great backup camera. Yes, it's a TRD. It doesn't have the 360-degree one, but you can see quite well with this backup camera. Now, here we go on the highway. The main thing is, man, these things handle like a dream. You can wiggle all over the road. You do not lose control. Indeed, it is not your father's Camry. That's why this guy's driving one. He's in his 20s. He wants to have some fun. But he's smart. Unlike his friend who bought a BMW, the endless money pit machine, he got something that he can basically probably drive for 20 or 30 years if he doesn't smash it up. Now, if you want 0 to 60, here we go. Yes, Camrys can burn rubber. It is a fun car to drive. And you'll notice, yes, you feel some of the bumps because it's a stiff suspension. If it was a regular Camry, it'd be somewhat smoother, but it wouldn't be as much fun to drive either. So you got a beautiful looking car, definitely much sportier, lower to the ground, handles like a dream, has the same horsepower, the exhaust is tuned, it's a little bit faster, 0 to 60, but you're not gonna look like your father's Camry driving this thing around. And it doesn't handle like it either. It really has good handling. They only make 6,000 of them a year. They're not mass producing them. But I think they hit the nail on the head for young people who want a fast, zippy car. Or old guys like me that think they're young. And of course it is Camry, so it's still got a big trunk. Only, like I said, you can't put those seats back to put stuff and pile it in, because they seriously did work on the suspension. These are serious driving cars. Realize that Mr. Toyota loved racing cars himself back in the day. He'd be proud of something like this. That's why they're only making 6,000 of them. They're making a statement. They're not like, we're going to sell 1 million of these. No, they're not going to make 1 million of them, but they'll sell every single one of them they make. I can guarantee you that. Now, the owner of this car was going to buy a 2020, and the guy said, go ahead, come look at it. Well, he came the next day and it was gone. Somebody had bought it, so he had to buy 2021. So, realize these things are relatively scarce. If you want to get one, hey, I'd say sooner than later, or you won't be one of the 6,000 that gets to buy one every year. Because after all, who knew a Camry could look like a race car and actually handle like a race car too? This is a wolf in sheep's clothing, although the clothing is kind of wolfy too, so that's not the greatest analogy. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Andrew says, should I get a Dodge Durango or a Ranger pickup truck? I'm looking at two vehicles, an 01 Ranger, the V6 with 100,000, and 02 Dodge Durango Sport Utility, four-wheel drive with the V at 101,000 miles. Both have little rust. The Ranger's 42 and the Durango is 5. What should I get? They're both automatic transmissions. Oh, I'd go for the Ranger by far. I would not buy a Dodge. One, the Dodge is a V8. It's a tremendous gas hog. Now, the Ranger's no gas miser, but it's a lot better than the Durango is. Plus, the transmissions in the Fords are much better than the transmissions in the Dodges. The Ford might still have quite a bit of life, but I can guarantee you the Durango is probably near the end of its lifespan of its automatic transmission. You want a mechanic to check it out before you buy it, of course. You never know with the used vehicle with 100,000 miles. I would not buy that Dodge, especially with the V8 and automatic transmission. And you said they both have aftermarket wheels. That means the guys are probably driving them pretty hard, and the V8s will eat up the transmissions much faster than the V6s will. So I would definitely go with the Ranger pickup on that. That would make much more sense. From my experience, the Rangers last longer. They have less transmission problems. And being a Ford, a lot of times the parts are a lot cheaper because they're mass produced more. They sell more of them. And there's a lot of aftermarket for the Ranger if you want to change it up a little bit, because a lot of people are fiddling around with those things. Quality of the Dodges isn't even close. I definitely would go Ranger on that, especially since the Ranger's even cheaper and has a little bit less mileage on it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.